Okay, this is the fourth time that I have started recording this because I keep fucking it up. So it is Friday the 24th of October. It is 20 past 9 and I've now finished for the day. Taken two trades already during London, one on Euro USD and one on gold XAU USD. One take profit, one break even. And I'm going to try and give this all the enthusiasm in the world, but unfortunately didn't sleep very well. Was up super early with my youngest, so enthusiasm is waning. So going to do the seamless transition, jump on the charts, break down both the trades. Press the wrong button. Hey. So for anyone that's watched the previous two videos of Euro USD, overall higher time frame, currently bearish. What we saw yesterday was a sweep of liquidity, a break to the upside, showing us that the short-term hourly structures are switching to look bullish. And then we had a really nice buy trade here yesterday, pushing higher. So my expectation through today is that we would continue to at least take out the high that was created from this impulsive bullish push, with maybe the possibility of us keeping going higher, delivering a premium price on the push lower, take out some buy side liquidity, and then switch and start coming lower again, meeting up with the higher time frames. So the higher time frames at the moment like this. At the moment we're here, we're looking for the market to come up and then potentially continue lower. So this pullback that we're seeing here could just be price delivering a more premium price to then be sold off that again. So jumping into the 5M, what we saw this morning, like almost every morning this week, Asia low was taken during Frankfurt. So when I came onto the charts, Asia low had already been taken. So for me, it was a case of looking for a break of structure to the upside, and then a continuation higher, with the targets being the previous daily high over here. So it's actually Wednesday's high. So targeting Wednesday's high because we know that this range that was here needs to be broken if we're going to continue bullish. So what we then saw through Frankfurt is we took another little bit of liquidity. We also took this level of liquidity from this low right here. So we've taken some liquidity as well as Asia low. So Asia high still being intact, it's reasonable to assume that we would then push higher from that point. What we then saw during Frankfurt is this really nice push to the upside, which I think was delivered by some news, if memory serves me correctly. No, so the news was actually just before I entered, actually. But we had this really nice push up, creating this valid demand down here. Now, with this one, we did have red folder news at 8:30, which kind of put me off, but this just looked so good. The setup was absolutely flawless. There wasn't really a lot that I could put wrong with it, apart from the news. So what I decided to do was enter with half risk. So I traded with 0.5% risk, and I managed to get the entry into the market 10 minutes before the news came in. So that kind of alleviated any issues with news trading on the prop accounts, on the funded accounts, or anything like that. But I took the entry with half risk. But luckily for me, the target being Wednesday's high and also Asia high meant that I could target 6.2%, which means that I made a full 3.1%, which would have been my target anyway. So a half risk trade turned into a full take profit percentage, which is really cool. But as you can see, we kind of, in the 10 minutes leading up to the news, we got some really nice pushes. Then the news kicks in, takes us straight to our take profit. So, news trading, not really part of the plan, but as I've become more confident and comfortable with my analysis and also what the market's doing and reading what price action is actually doing, taking those half risk trades or potentially even, quarter risk trades at 0.25%, it's valid in my opinion, because I'm fine getting taken out for 0.5% loss, but if I can make, the full 3.1% based off that trade, and means I finish at 20 past 9, that's pretty good. And this is something that I will develop over time and become more comfortable with. Not always going to trade news, not always going to jump into it. It's only really if structure is just looking fantastic, which it was. We had the clear little sweep of liquidity, a clear strong break of structure, creating a valid demand to trade off of, as well as the fact that we had this initial bullish range created here, which we then respected and pushed off of quite impulsively yesterday, where we got this lovely buy trade, and structure is still trading and looking bullish. So logically, everything was pointing towards the market going higher. As to whether it will continue higher through the day, I don't know. But at least for this moment in time, it did continue higher, which is good for me. So that was Euro USD. So yeah, full 3.1% bagged on that one, which is really cool. And then I took a arguably quite impulsive trade on gold. Not 100% sure why I've left this here, because I'm definitely not in the trade anymore. But basically what we saw on gold is we had an enormous push off to the downside, which was equal to about 5% of gold's value, which is wild. We had this significant external high right here, level of liquidity, which we came up to on yesterday, and we just left it alone. We just were not seemingly not interested in taking it. And then we had a push to the downside. We then had kind of a spike up during Tokyo, and then we just saw bearish market structure just continue to build. So lower lows and lower highs continuing to build. And with how impulsively gold moves and how it just likes to keep going, you know, when it starts to move, it starts to move. I think when I woke up this morning, we were already almost 1% or just over 1% down. So I was looking to take a more aggressive entry, because I figured London's going to open. This sell-off has been happening during Asia. London traders are going to come in. The London market's going to open, and the sell-off is going to continue. So I was looking for a more aggressive entry into the market. So the original entry, we basically had this impulsive push down here. I know that I'm already looking for sells. I appreciate that we swept Asia low. We could target Asia high, but just with how bearish gold is at the moment, I want to ride that momentum. So we had this massive push down right here, created a valid supply right here. And that was the original idea, was I was going to enter here, stops above here and target lower. But because we saw this push up and then kind of just stalled, and then London opened and we just stalled, these tiny little bullish candles really didn't do a lot. And then we saw a really strong 5-minute push to the downside. You could argue that we broke some minor structures in here, but doesn't really count for me, just purely because no new high was put in, no new low. So this price action here is kind of insignificant to me. What was significant to me was the fact that we were just not really doing anything for 20 minutes, 25 minutes when London had opened, and then all of a sudden big strong candle close, big strong bearish candle close in the 5-minute. And as we know, when gold starts to move, and if London is then stalled and then given us an impulsive push, it's reasonable to assume that we will continue lower. However, because we had this supply sitting right here, my idea was that I was going to micromanage the trade. So as soon as I got into a reasonable amount of profit, I was just literally going to close out go to break even. Keyboard stop one thing. Yeah, let's try and remove that. Keyboard's not working for some reason. So yeah, once we saw that push there, I entered into the market there with my stop above here as it is there. And then kind of we got a nice push originally. It took me to just under 1%. And I was like, right, cool, okay, I'm going to just go to break even now. We're almost at 1%. We've gone almost immediately into profit. Well, actually, it was after about 10 minutes, but went into some nice profit straight away, closed that out, moved it to break even. And then we saw the market immediately almost whip back up, take me out of break even. Considered re-entering, but I just figured that, with this candle close in the 5M, we had a really nice bearish push, and then all of a sudden what looks like a bullish pin where the sellers are just exhausted. So I was like, no, I'm not into it. I wanted to see if we could potentially pop up here and then get the sell from there. But obviously, as you can see, we had, why is my keyboard stop working? This is really annoying. Yeah, as you can see that we just continued lower, which is great, isn't it? So yeah, that was it for this morning. 3.1%, little break even on gold, but it's a good way to end the week. It's been a pretty solid week. I'll try and do a full recap on the prop account and post it in. But other than that, that's it. I'm going to keep trying to do the trade breakdowns, win or lose, and hopefully they help someone, not just me. So yeah, I'm going to go and bury my face in some caffeine and have a lovely weekend.